What's up, Flourishing fam? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Flourish with Delores, where flourishing is about progress and not perfection, honey. And in today's video, I want us to grab a little drink and let's talk about my first trimester journey. That sounds good? Keep on watching. Let's get right into my first trimester journey. And as soon as I found out that I was pregnant, I was about 5.5, 6 weeks pregnant, and I started looking up all of the things in terms of like, it's weird. Usually I'm like a huge planner, and usually I would look up like weeks, everything, like just wanting to know everything, but I really did not want to be overwhelmed and have too much information. And I think one of the nice things about having my first 5.5, 6 months of social media not knowing is I really got to take my time with learning information about pregnancy. I really got to just first have it with just Charles and I knowing and exploring whatever we needed to explore with beginning parenthood, and then our parents, and then our siblings, and then our really close friends and loved ones, and then social media. So it really was an opportunity to scaffold that like information overload of like people just being excited and wanting to tell you all the things. And even with that, I tried to not research everything about being pregnant right away. And what I did, and if you're expecting, maybe you're doing it now, what I did was I took it by week or by trimester. So when I was in my first trimester, I only really looked up first trimester things, like things to purchase in your first trimester. And I didn't even want to look ahead at the other stuff until I got there. I just wanted to take my time and really enjoy this journey and not get overwhelmed. So that was a big thing for my first trimester. And I didn't find out again until I was about 6 weeks. So I'm going to be telling you guys about my journey from week 6 to week 12. So let's get on in and let's see a little baby bump. Baby is here, nice and big, and I'm really enjoying sitting on the floor right now. So let's get into the weeks. So when I found out that I was pregnant, the weeks prior to knowing, I thought I was just getting period symptoms. And FYI, this is all about pregnancy symptoms and all of that. So if you're a little queasy or you have children around that you don't want to hear this, just a disclaimer, maybe don't have them around, because I'm gonna use details and get into terms. So I thought I was just having period symptoms. So I was about 6 days late for my period, and Charles kept saying, maybe you're pregnant. I'm like, there's no way. I decided to not take a pregnancy test even like day 3, day 4, day 5 of having symptoms, because I thought they were just like PMSing symptoms, like, but I was just late for some reason. So I felt cramps, I felt exhausted, I felt very moody, and it was very reflective of my PMS symptoms. Finally, day 6, I took the test and found out it was positive, and then like about a few days later we got it confirmed by our OBGYN. And I don't know, something like a switch goes off, like all of those feelings I started feeling a little bit more intense, but then I started feeling a constant state of nausea, like every single day for pretty much the first trimester. First trimester, some people say it ends at week 12, some people say it ends at week 14 of pregnancy. I felt it until maybe about week 16 of like constant nausea, like every day. Maybe I'd get like an hour of relief here and there, but if I took something to help with it, but I was always nauseous, always needed to lay down. I was pretty weak. I went through every week and wrote down like what I was feeling. On September 1st, so this is maybe into like week 7 or 8, maybe that was like week 7 or 8, I wrote that I was feeling very uncomfortable, feeling bloated, feeling anxious, that my back was hurting, that my chest was hurting, that my breasts were sore, and just very sensitive. Pretty much it was like a hot mess of like, I do not feel good. And I remember at that point, once I got into week 7 or 8, I just had to give up like a lot of like household stuff around the house. And shout out to my husband who really like held it down with helping out around the house. And you know, it's his house too, so when people are like, oh, helping out, like, you know, that's, we're supposed to do that around our house, but like he's gone above and beyond, and the chores that we would split, he's just taken everything on, from like laundry to figuring out meals to, you know, doing like the light house cleaning. So super appreciative of him, because once I would get home from work, if I even had the energy to go to work, or felt well enough to go to work, I would just have to lay down. Like I just had nothing left in me, because the one thing that to me is the toughest about your first trimester is that no one knows you're pregnant, and so you don't feel well, you're in a constant state of nausea, but then you have to be in these meetings acting normal to everyone. And so I think that was probably the toughest thing for me, because I couldn't say, sorry guys, I don't feel well, I'm gonna cancel this meeting, or I'm not coming to work. There were a couple times where I would tell my supervisor, I'm not feeling well today, can I work from home? But I think I was way more relieved when people knew after my first trimester, because I could ask to work from home or to just call out of work with people just knowing what it is. And I don't know, just something about that, no longer suffering in silence, helped. But anyway, by week 8, I was still suffering in silence. I was definitely pretty nauseous. Or maybe like week 6 and 7, I was doing, you know, the ginger to help with my nausea. But then by the time I got to week 9, like I wasn't feeling ginger anymore. And I just started to I think, rough it out. Sometimes I'd have ginger tea in the morning to help, but I just grew a food aversion to ginger. I just didn't like it anymore. So actually, what I journaled on September 1st was actually week 6. So I'm not even on week 8 or 9 yet. So then week 7, on September 3rd, I wrote that I would feel dizzy and faint when I would wake up to use the bathroom. Like when I'd get up in the middle of the night, I would just feel like I'm gonna like pass out when I was trying to use the bathroom. And my food aversions were like, through the roof, but sometimes also up and down. It was all over the place. So I wrote 1 hour, I can't stand the thought of food. Next hour, I can eat bland food like bread and a boiled egg. Next, I can handle a little chicken. Food with strong smells make me nauseous, and I'm still very much uncomfortable and unable to move much. Like for some reason, I don't know, week 6, I don't know if like my body was building all the things it needed to build, but week 6, like when I would like move slightly or something would hit my stomach, it just felt so sensitive. Like my stomach just felt extremely sensitive. I felt very nauseous, and I really think it's because my body was building, you know, the placenta and everything it needed to build. And I don't know, it just was knocking me off my rocker. And y'all, the food aversions were so strong, like I couldn't even look at y'all Instagram stories with food. Like it just would gross me out. And usually I love looking at people's food, I love looking at food, I love eating. But just looking at like the normal food, if someone posted like spaghetti, I'd be like, oh, that doesn't even look good. Like I just couldn't stand the sight of food. And thankfully, I haven't thrown up yet. There's been a couple times where I've like gagged, but I have not thrown up, which I'm so happy, because throwing up makes me cry. Like I hate throwing up, but I feel like I was gonna throw up. And I think, especially because by then week 7, if I would think about a food and it would make me feel like it would make me throw up, I wouldn't even touch it. So that's when I was eating very bland. I was eating like oodles and noodle soup, but without the seasoning packets, or maybe just a little bit. And like I said, the boiled egg, a piece of toast, or sometimes nothing at all. So my first trimester, I lost a lot of weight, and it was getting a little scary, but I just could not bring myself to eat, because just the thought of food would just make me, you know, gag. So that was week 7. I actually did another note on September 5th, and I said, this TMI, but I had really painful like gas in my stomach. And I'm not even talking about gas that comes out the other way, but it could be just a burping. Like I just felt so much gas in my stomach, and it still happens to me till this day. And it would make me nauseous, and it would be so painful as it was like attempting to figure out like how it was gonna come out of my body. By September 5th, my appetite came back a little bit. I had Chick-fil-A, and I was kind of active on that Sunday and Monday, so moving around a little bit more. And I put that I was able to do some shopping and some filming. So I was still trying to do a little bit more with my brand stuff, but I slowed down a lot. So if you guys look through my page, it looks like I was pretty active, but there were times where I would just go ghost on social media and just put myself and my body first. And also I took a lot of like breaks from social media, whether you noticed it or not, because I didn't want to see things about miscarriage or misfortune or just anything like that. And I think for some reason, once social media knows you're pregnant, it just starts showing you all things like pregnant. So I was getting a lot of like pregnancy ads, but I was also getting people's, you know, stories. And I think those stories do matter, because the more we hear about them, women who are going through that can feel seen and not feel alone. So I think those stories do matter. But I think when you're pregnant, it's hard to hear those stories, because you're already feeling paranoid, especially in the first trimester, before you know it's like super, if it's going to be a viable pregnancy. So I avoided social media and filling my head with like negativity. And thankfully I brought my assistant on in about October, so she started doing a lot of the posting. I would film the content and then give it to her and give her access to my Instagram account, and she would do the posting. So that allowed me to still be active with my brand, but you know, protect my mental health and sleep. Because y'all, first trimester, whole time, like, I was exhausted. I'm surprised I didn't even write that in my notes. Like, I would be falling asleep while driving. Thankfully I never actually fell asleep. I would come home and be able to just take a shower and knock out. And I've never been one of those people who could like close my eyes and fall asleep. Charles can, my husband, and my best friend Thelma can. And I've always wondered, like, how do y'all do that? Teach me. Because I've always been someone who has such a hard time turning her brain off. So for the first time ever, I experienced like what it's like to be so tired where you could just fall asleep. So that was definitely a symptom that I had. Fast forward to September 11th, I just wrote the same thing again: nauseous, stomach pain, head pressure, and headaches. I started getting headaches by then. And by September 12th, I started taking iron. I think one of the tests that we did, because now we were into week 8, one of the tests, blood works that we did at the doctors, found out that I was a little bit anemic. So I started taking iron. So that was pretty much week 6, 7, and 8. And now entering into week 9, September 21st, I wrote that I was feeling a little bit more energy. Perhaps the iron is helping. I'm falling asleep faster at night, but waking up in the middle of the night for about an hour. I'm able to do a little bit more light housework, and my appetite is increasing, but I'm still not able to eat a lot in one setting, and I'm losing a lot of weight. Y'all, I got to the weight of like when I was like in high school, and that was scary for me, because I haven't been that small in so long. And you're thinking you're pregnant, you're supposed to be gaining weight, and it wasn't until maybe 2-3 weeks ago, already deep into my second trimester, where I finally hit my like pre-pregnancy weight, like the weight I weighed before I was pregnant. So I'm still not even like at like a growing post-pregnancy weight yet. And overall I am carrying pretty small. So for me to be 6 months or 5.5 months, my baby sweet angel is pretty small. But at first I was like, oh, I want my belly to be big and all this stuff. But I'm just gonna take it as a blessing in disguise, and when it's supposed to pop, it's gonna pop. So that was basically week 9. So week 10, I didn't really journal much, but it was pretty much the same: the headaches, the exhaustion, still no throw up, thank God, the food aversion. And then week 11, I wrote that my stomach has been sore and fragile, feels like I'm recovering from surgery. So it was the weirdest thing. Like, it literally felt like I had gotten like, you know, one of those surgeries like where they like tighten your stomach or something like that. It just felt like my body was recovering from like surgery. I was so sore, like as if I had like open wounds. Like, that's what it felt like. So that was pretty difficult, because if someone like accidentally like touched me or hit me, or like, I don't know, I just couldn't move in certain ways. So that was really hard. And then I wrote that I feel like cramp and pressure, like my stomach would cramp up and pressure when I urinate. I feel like that's too TMI. I don't know if I'll keep that in there. But one thing I put, which I'm so proud of myself, because I was just saying it earlier and I'm glad I actually journaled this. October 10th, I put, I'm reclaiming my time. I'm allowing for people to help me. I put that I do have a lower tolerance for like BS. Like, I need people to get straight to the point. Let's talk about it, what we gotta do. And I was letting myself rest. And with my low tolerance, I think you and your body going through so much, but then I think also because you're carrying a life, you also see life a little bit different, the things that are actually important to you. So I felt like I was a little bit more lower tolerance for BS, because I'm like, this don't matter, like, why are we talking about this? Like, let's move on, or let's get to the point so I can move on and get to my rest. So I definitely did see myself, you know, getting more of a lower tolerance. So that's basically what I felt from the first week, or excuse me, because I didn't know the first week. So that's basically how I've been feeling from week 6 to week 14. Overall, constantly nauseous, stomach and stuff feeling very sensitive, feeling anxious. I've been doing a lot of praying, especially when I wake up in the middle of the night. Always praying for our child, praying for God to cover us, our family, the safety, reminding myself that my body was made for this. Just praying for God to ease my mind whenever negative thoughts come. So I've really been trying to center myself and to be as healthy as possible for our growing child. So that's been our first trimester, and I'll say that one thing, I'll get more a little bit into this when I talk about the second trimester, but there's something about being pregnant, and comment below if you're the same way, but your child is going to obviously be a reflection of you and probably look like you and your partner. So now when I catch myself in the mirror, this is probably the first time, I know I'm like not a bad looking person, and I hope you feel the same way about yourself, but now when I catch myself in the mirror, I'd be like, girl, you actually pretty, girl. Like, I don't know, I feel like a little bit more confidence, and I think it's because if I look in the mirror and I don't feel beautiful, what am I gonna tell my child who looks like me? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just one of those weird things that I see myself a little bit more differently now, and I'm more cautious of how I treat myself, what I put out, what I also consume. So I love like Real Housewives of Potomac and all of that, but like lately, like the cursing and the fighting amongst women and stuff, like it irritates me a little bit more. And I feel like because I'm consuming negativity and I don't want my child to have it, so I've been like cutting that out a little bit, but I still watch it, but I'm just a little bit more sensitive to negativity now. So that is something that I noticed. But that's been my first trimester journey, y'all. Weeks 6 through 14. Let me know if you want me to do another one of these videos. On my channel, I do videos about balancing marriage and career, and also tap into home and lifestyle. And a part of my lifestyle is now gonna be being a mom. I don't think I'm gonna become a mom influencer or a mom vlogger, but I'm also not gonna limit myself in what I do. But so there definitely will be some motherhood content, you know, sprinkled into my content. But let me know what else you want to see, and if you like this. And again, we are just so excited, so blessed, and we know God's got us and God's covering us, and his will be done. So, and I want you to believe the same for yourself. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.